While the economy sinks to the ground, we could see the stock market really just ignoring it all. I think it's important that we focus on what's actually happening underlying all of this because your currency, as it stands today, will not exist in the next few years. What am I talking about? I'll bring that to you. You came here for the truth, so let me unveil that for you. You could see the stock market right now doing pretty well. As of Friday's close, you see the S&P 500, it's over 4,000. This is edging closer and closer to its all-time high. The stock market doesn't care. Investors don't care. Doesn't matter if it's Russia. Doesn't matter if it's China, Taiwan. Nothing phases it because you have a massive liquidity inflow over the last few years that is still sloshing around. So we got to remember that all the time. I've been accused of a lot of garbage, BS. But anyway, here we are. Storm clouds gathering over the U.S. after banking crisis, JP Morgan and Citi chief warns. So you're basically talking about multiple high-level people. I'll show you 3 examples that are saying we got some serious problems, okay? Because the banking crisis cannot be resolved overnight. Although some people suggest that it is resolved, they can certainly paper over it, but you can't fix the problems. Didn't fix the problems in 2008, didn't fix anything. Here now, you're seeing the British boss of Citigroup warning that the U.S. will fall into a recession later this year amid turbulent outlook on the financial sector. Of course, you've got many people throughout this, including Jamie Dimon and all these others, that have said basically the same thing. I don't want to just beat a dead horse, but you look at it and it's pretty clear to me that we've got issues. We are probably in a recession, depending on which area you look at and all these different factors, but other factors are keeping it afloat. And we'll talk about some of that because it's not just one-sided and we don't want to get into that. I could put some fire in the thumbnail. I can use exaggerated text, but ultimately that's not going to get you anywhere. So that's where we're at today. We're looking at the truth and the reality of the situation. You've got Larry Summers warning the U.S. is getting lonely as other powers band together. And that's what it really comes down to because people believe in the exceptionalism of what they have, and unfortunately we need a reality check every once in a while. We need to get smacked upside the head every once in a while. That's the way it works. We need somebody to call us out on our own BS too, and that's the way I live my life. And so what we're seeing right here doesn't have anything to do with Larry Summers. Really, who cares about him? The point is that when you have an empire that builds itself too far, that spreads itself too thin, you will always see it fall. That's what we're getting right now, okay? And of course, the world doesn't like to be bullied around, and so they're trying to make friends with each other and saying, hey, I know we might not be best friends, but we don't really like that guy, so let's do business. And that's what we're seeing with the BRICS nations, and that's primarily what he's calling out here. A lot of these different countries are saying, let's do business outside of the US dollar. The US, in the way that it exists today, is able to maintain that status because it has this monopoly, and it's losing that monopoly like publicly, and that will take a long time, but it's something that we must be aware of because if you, the individual, believe that your retirement account's going to be there, your social security is going to be there, and you're going to leave something for your children, you've got to realize that this world is a lot different than the one you started in. Wake up, or just whatever you want to do. Okay? Former Home Depot CEO issues grim warning over the U.S. bankruptcies is different than anything I've seen. And he makes a couple points in here, just saying, I think we've got a lot of bankruptcies, Bed Bath & Beyond. We've got Walmart not only laying people off, but closing stores. We've got Accenture laying people off, Amazon closing distribution centers. I think there's a tremendous mixed message. He makes a good point because it's not just one scenario or another. The stock market's doing well. Some companies are doing well. But at the same time, you're seeing a lot of this stuff that's really sending that mixed signal. And you could see in this case here, according to UBS analysts, more than 50,000 retail locations could permanently shut their doors over the next 5 years. Who knows what happens with the economy and all that. But I would have to venture a guess that retail locations are probably not the one you want to be investing in, which basically means that over the next while, you're going to have commercial mortgage-backed securities, ultimately the debt surrounding commercial buildings and the companies who have been investing in it that will take a hit. And that's something that you got to be prepared for. And I just think that for a lot of people, they don't understand it. They're just like, well, I don't care about that. But the ramifications and the domino effects that I've talked about numerous times are being felt right now. They've already started. So the people on the inside know about that. They've been talking about it. And then eventually it makes its way down the line, but that does take a while. So watch out. Okay, that's all I'm saying. Property has an open-ended problem. After years of low interest rates, open-ended real estate funds have grown uncomfortably large. I mentioned this specifically just to talk about what's happening with debt. Way too much debt. Interest rates are increased. If they are not increased or decreased in this year, 2023, we're going to have some major problems just because the financing costs are just too large. Private equity's latest money-making trade, buying its own debt. Advent, CD&R, Elliott boost bets on in-portfolio companies. Bank offering steep discounts to shed debt stock on their books. Many companies are doing this. Ridiculous when they shuffle around debt. I remember back during the Euro viral contagion, as I like to call it, 2011 into 2012, where you had all these different countries in Europe, they had problems with their sovereign debt. What did they do? They took all that debt and they piled it up into a big package. And they said, we are restructuring this debt. And they essentially did nothing. Nothing happened with that. And people just swallowed it and took it home. They don't care. People don't care because they're too busy scrolling on Instagram. They're too busy watching nonsense. And ultimately, they have lost their minds. That's been on my mind today. Anyway, so I would say in relation to this, watch out very carefully where your exposure is. Like people thought SVB was so safe. Turns out, not so safe. Watch where your money is in the banking system. Be very clear of that, okay? Then you have this. U.S. sanctions leaders of Russian bank warns Hungary over ties with Moscow. I'm noticing this all the time. The U.S. is basically pushing, saying, no, we got to stop the invasion of Russia on Ukraine. We don't want this anymore. And at the same time, they are essentially pushing a lot of different countries into the arms of Russia and the other BRICS nations like China. Whether you agree with it or not, that's the situation. That's what's happening today. And that brings me to this Project IceBreaker, the beginning of a one world digital currency system. Well, you may have seen some others in the niche doing videos about this recently, which I find weird because I've been talking about this for literally years. Why is that still news? But okay, I guess people like information that's not new. But anyway, we'll talk about it again just because I'm seeing it as if it's news. If you see that as well, please post it in the comments below. What is this? What am I talking about here? As you can see in the image that they're trying to show you, essentially the biz at the center of the other central banks with a central bank digital currency being used here. I don't know how long I've been talking about this. It's been a very long time. But anyway, here we are. The biz sitting at the center of it all. The biz will be the one like the essentially central bank of central banks, which they are now, except that you're going to have these central bank digital currencies that are operating within it. There will be no oversight for you at all, even your own central bank, which is like at least the Congress can be grilling the central bank. They don't do anything about it, but at least there's like that level of like face-to-face. You see Jerome Powell, you had seen Janet Yellen, the wonderful, Ben Bernanke, Helicopter Ben, all of the previous ones before that. There was a face to it. Now it's going to be even worse, even less. So that's what this Project IceBreaker is just showing you. The fact that they want to get this in a testing phase. They're doing it now already, and they're going to be expanding that. So what does that mean for you? It is essentially saying that number one, you got less oversight, you got less control on your part, but more control over on them. At the same time, we watch basically the degrading of your currency's value, because look at what happened since 1971. It just goes down the drain, and now you're going to be adding another level of that on top of it. Your currency is gone, so you've got to have real assets. This is very important. Okay, even I just covered the video in the previous one to this. I said there was an article about how printing money isn't profitable anymore. The world's largest printer can't even do it at a profit. I mean, printing money not profitable. I mean, it's a joke. This whole world is becoming a joke, and we can laugh at it. We can cry about it. I do a little bit of both here and there. I see a lot of pathetic garbage out there that people are feeding people and they love it, because I see the views and I see the comments, and I've been looking at that and I've been pretty sad about it. And that's just the way it goes. This is the thing. I've been talking about this a long time. I don't know if I'm sure there was other people talking about it before me, but seeing this as news right now just shows us, and getting a lot of views, getting a lot of thanks about it. It just shows us that people are just oblivious to what's actually happening. Own real assets, get rid of your garbage, unfollow the vast majority of that which you follow, and learn only that which you need to get to your goals, okay? That's just my message to you. If that includes me, so be it. I'll see you on the other side. Take care.